Hi, I'm Brett Ingram, award-winning entrepreneur, and today I want to share with you 10 business lessons from legendary entrepreneur and Apple founder Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is obviously one of the co-founders of Apple, and he's widely recognized for his visionary leadership, innovative approach to product design, marketing, and business strategy. I mean, if you know anything about entrepreneurship, if you know anything about American business, then you know who Steve Jobs is. You know, his exploits in the office and his personality and other things are the stuff of legend because not only was he considered to be sort of a creative genius in some ways and such an innovator and trendsetter, but he also has some famed stories about being difficult to work with, being very hard on people, and not understanding very much in terms of a bedside manner. And so whether you love him or hate him, it's inarguable that he had a tremendous impact on business, American business, but business in general, and on the way that companies now look at innovation and at the way they look at business strategy. So he happened to be in the tech industry, but regardless, the things that he stood for and the way that he operated are things that other businesses have since tried to emulate and copy. So, his career gives us a number of lessons for entrepreneurs and business leaders that we can draw from. And I'm a big believer in learning from people who've been there before us. I think that success does leave clues, and I think if we study people and study businesses in any walk of life, even if we're outside the business realm, if we study greatness in any particular field, we are that much more likely to understand how that greatness was created and be able to distill out of that some lessons and some things that we can use ourselves to become great, or to at least try to achieve the things that we set out to be. It doesn't mean that we want to copycat it directly, but we want to learn from it, emulate that, and adapt it to our own personality, our own business, and our own situation so it really fits. So I want to share 10 business lessons that are basically drawn from Steve Jobs' principles and his practices, because I think these things are very valuable and can apply to any person, any entrepreneur, in any business. The first of them is to focus on simplicity. Business is inherently complex, but Jobs believed in the power of simplicity in product design, user interface, and business processes. People were very focused on function prior to, what Steve did with various things with Apple. And once he designed sort of an interface where it made it a lot easier to be able to interact with a computer, it revolutionized the way that we view everything. Now, that is obviously the standard, and nobody would work on a computer that was difficult to understand or difficult to program or difficult to interact with. And so, in terms of the way that he sort of revolutionized that, he wanted to make things accessible for the average person, so it wasn't just tech people that would enjoy the fruits of sort of what those devices and things could do. And business processes as well. He showed that simplifying products can make them more intuitive, and by definition, that then makes them more appealing to consumers. So you'll have a lot greater success, you'll have a lot greater adoption. And this is a great lesson because no matter what product or service we're offering, if there's a level of complexity that requires somebody to get over a learning curve to start using it, as great as it is, that's a huge obstacle to overcome to get people to even buy in. I've had products, services, online things, whatever, where it seemed like it was great, it pitched a great game, and then when I tried to use it, I found it very complicated. In most cases, I abandoned those things. For the few that I maybe stuck with, because I do have some technical skill, I understood once I got it going, the value. But I understand why 90% of people would abandon it, particularly if they had no technical ability or skills or experience with that. Another concept or another sort of lesson that we can learn is to prioritize product quality. A lot of times as a business, we want to get things out the door fast. And we want to, get the product into consumers' hands so we can start to make money, start to make sales. And the fact of the matter is, while speed certainly is important, at the end of the day, a quality product will always outdo its own marketing and outdo whatever sales projections there are. Whereas a subpar quality product, no matter how great our marketing is, ultimately will lead to customers who are dissatisfied and hurt us in the long run. Under Jobs' leadership, Apple emphasized creating high quality, well-designed products that fulfilled and exceeded customer expectations. He didn't want to just push stuff out to the market and hope that it would be good. He wanted everyone to have sort of that wow factor when they used his stuff and that aha. So they felt sort of tied to it and connected to it. And this is why you see a brand built in such a way that when they're going to release a new phone, there's a line outside the store from the night before waiting to get the new phone. I mean, it kind of seems silly when you think about it, because the fact is you can order the phone any day. We all have phones now, so it isn't that novel. But that's sort of the buzz that they create with the loyalty that they get, because of the fact that the user experience is the thing that's always focused on, the thing that's always prioritized. And that focus on excellence really helped differentiate Apple in the marketplace. There were a lot of technology makers, there were a lot of computer makers, a lot of phone makers, but Apple rose to the top and is always one of the top major players because of the fact that customers who love them really love them. Another concept or lesson is to innovate constantly. Steve Jobs was synonymous with innovation. He understood that any time that you come up with some kind of new innovation or new invention, and then you decide, okay, we've crossed the finish line, we're good, you're dead. Because the fact is, someone else is going to continue to innovate and eventually move past you. I studied, when I was in graduate school, one of the businesses that I found really fascinating was a business called Quad Graphics. And Quad Graphics was a graphic design firm, but basically they created equipment and processes. And one of the things that these guys would do is every time they made a new breakthrough, a new technological breakthrough, a new innovation in graphic design, they would turn around and sell it to their competitors. They would sell the innovation, they would sell the process to their competitors. And you think to yourself, that's crazy. Why would anybody do that? But what the owner and founder understood is by doing that, he made it so his teams could never feel complacent. They would still generate profit, and they generate a lot because by selling it to the other companies, they generated more of a windfall of cash. At the same time, they knew that they had to start innovating right away again, because what they just innovated is already now all the competitors have caught up with them. And so the idea was, it's the way that he used to keep his firm on the cutting edge. And it's actually a really, really brave, but really cool and wild strategy when you think about it. It's really, really clever. So he encourages teams, Jobs encourages teams to push the boundaries of what was possible. He didn't like to take no for an answer, and when they couldn't come up with something, he wanted them to always constantly innovate and say, this device is too big. No one's going to carry this around in their belt buckle if the thing weighs a pound. We got to get the weight down. We got to get the size down. And what that does is it leads people to problem solving and creative thinking, and it leads to groundbreaking products like the iPhone, like the iPad. And he demonstrated that continuous innovation is crucial for staying ahead in competitive industries. I mean, if you look up, what you realize is, the MacBook came out and everybody thought, oh, it's this beautiful, sleek device. And wow, it's so different from every other laptop. It's light and it's this and it's that. The screen is beautiful. You fast forward a few years and everybody's making them. There's 5 or 6 different competitors, whether it's Asus and theirs, or whether it is LG with one that's even lighter than the iPads or the iMacs. And so MacBooks. So the fact of the matter is, you always need to be innovating. Another key concept or lesson is to understand your customer. You know, a lot of times as business owners, when we create a product, it's easy to fall in love with our product. It's easy to fall in love with our own process for creating the product and be so excited about how much we've invested in developing this that we lose sight of what the ultimate goal is. It's not how many bells and whistles it has or whatever else, it's what the end use to the consumer is and what their adoption ability is. And that is the most important thing, because if that works, people will seek out that product and find it no matter where it's hidden. Jobs had an exceptional ability to anticipate customer needs and desires even before they did. And he focused on creating products that customers would love. So that way he could show the importance of deep customer understanding and product development. And he instilled that throughout his entire team and throughout his entire organization. They always put the customer first in terms of what the end result was going to be. And while certainly there were some misses here and there, the fact of the matter is, in general, that strategy really paid off, because ultimately they developed a very loyal following. There are a bunch of Apple users out there that will refuse to even look at anything else because all they'll ever buy is Apple. Another key concept is to articulate a clear vision. You know, when you are trying to do something that is otherworldly, that is visionary, for lack of a better term, it's super important that not only can you articulate it and think about it in terms in your own head, but you have to be able to convey that to everybody else on your team. It's even better if you could convey it to the market and to your customer. But it's super important that you can convey it to everybody inside the organization, because the fact is they all need to buy in for you to be able to achieve it. You know, if all everyone thinks is, well, yeah, we're going to make another mobile phone, then they'll just go about making another mobile phone. If your vision is to create something that's completely different and it's revolutionary and people don't even know if it can be done because it's never been done, you have to be a compelling figure with a really strong ability to articulate the vision in a way that you believe in it, and the way that charisma sort of and gets infectious and gets involved with everybody else in the organization, so they all want to be part of it. And Jobs was known for his compelling vision of the future. You know, he always looked at technology and what it could possibly be capable of. And by being able to sort of distill that down into a vision that he could share, he was able to inspire his team and align them with a common goal, getting them pushed past what conventional wisdom said was possible at the time. And that demonstrates the power of visionary leadership. Now, again, some people thought he was sort of a tyrant at times, and sometimes that's what it takes, because a lot of people will reject or push back against any sort of boundary pushing ideas. But the fact is, you know, his personality and his overwhelming charisma and vision and conviction for what he was doing won everybody out. And those people that bought into it obviously created some pretty amazing products. Another key concept is to reject mediocrity. You know, it's easy to do things in a way that we just get them done, right? It's easy to go about things and do them to a level that is satisfactory, or do them to a level where we get a pass. So it's, you know, we've got it done and it's good enough kind of thing. And the fact of the matter is, that's okay for survival. But if you want to do something bigger than that, if you want to do something that transcends space and time, if you want to do something that breaks the curve, that changes the way people live, that, you know, does anything on a grander scale, you have to think beyond that. You have to refuse to accept it even in order to be able to be at that level. And you need to make sure that everybody around you understands that, so they feel the same way. And what will happen is this will be a self-sorting prophecy. What will happen is people that buy into your vision and feel the same way and have very high standards for themselves and what they want to create and want to be part of something bigger will stick around. People that are afraid of that, don't want to work hard, don't want to be pushed, and just want to sit in their cubicle and do their job, will all leave. And that's better for everybody involved, because you don't want those people in your organization, and you need the other type in your organization. And it will attract the right kind of people. Jobs famously refused to settle for anything less than excellence. In fact, Again, as I mentioned, a lot of times people thought he was a tyrant. He was very hard on people. He was very harsh. He didn't always say things in a politically correct way or a way that was soft on your ego. But the fact is, he was challenging his team to achieve perfection in their work, and that's what he wanted. It was a relentless pursuit of quality, and that inspired the innovation and set new standards in the industry that now everybody looks up to and everybody tries to emulate. Another really important thing in any great leader, and Jobs was no exception with this, was to embrace failure. Because despite his successes, Jobs also faced significant failures. He had some real bombs out there that nobody even remembers anymore because of his successes. But the fact is, he tried that thing called the Next computer, which was an absolute failure. And it was something that the idea was good, the execution wasn't, and it wasn't ready. And I think he learned lessons from that himself in terms of rolling out things in the iPad and iPhone and all those other versions of things. Because he learned that if it isn't ready to go to market, it's better not to market it. If you rush it out to market and it's not ready, it will fail. And so the fact is, he viewed that failure as a necessary step toward innovation and success. And so does every great leader. The fact is, if you are worried about failure, you necessarily are preventing yourself from being successful in a big way, because it means you're not willing to take risks. And if you don't take risks, it's impossible to achieve anything of substance or anything great. And Jobs understood this, as did a bunch of others. I remember a very famous story. I think the company was IBM, and they had hired an employee, and the employee made a big mistake. And he lost them $10,000, which decades and decades ago was a tremendous amount of money. I think it was 10,000, maybe it was 100,000. And so he went into his boss's office and he said, "So I guess, you're going to fire me. I'll collect my stuff and I'll be out of here in the afternoon." And he said, wait a minute, are you crazy? You just, cost me $10,000 in training. I'm not going to fire you. Now you understand, you're $10,000 closer to understanding how to do this the right way. And I fully expect you to go out there and do that. And what a way to reframe it from the perspective of, you're going to buy this person's loyalty now because they spent all this money and wasted it ultimately. And now they're going to want to go above and beyond to make sure they do it right the next time. But what it also signals to the whole organization is not to go out there and waste money, but to go out there and try things. And don't be afraid to try because you think the consequence of failure will be getting fired. When people feel that way in an organization, they won't try anything. They'll play it safe, and that will keep the framework of the organization and the success of the organization within a box. It makes it impossible to break out and do anything extraordinary because everybody's too worried about what the consequences will be. So it's super important to be resilient and to learn from our mistakes, and Jobs absolutely knew that. Another key tenet of what Jobs stood for, and a lesson we can learn, is to market aggressively. Jobs was a master storyteller and marketer, and he understood the importance of building a strong brand and conveying a compelling narrative about his products. We want to build evangelists for our products that go out there and tell everybody else about them. But it starts with us. We need to be able to present things in a compelling way. We need to show people the products and services in a way that their use case for them is so powerful that they can't wait to get their hands on it. We need to create that demand, that excitement, that buzz, and then let that permeate and let that infect everybody so everybody wants our products and services. So we need to do that aggressively, and we need to do it with conviction and passion. His presentations and marketing campaigns were highly effective in creating anticipation and excitement. And it's why you had people standing in line, waiting days or hours in advance for something to launch in the freezing cold because they thought it was going to be that transcendent of a product and that cool to own. And another hugely important thing and lesson that we can learn, not only from Jobs, but from every great leader, is that we need to build a great team. Recognizing that great achievements, no matter how much of a visionary we might be ourselves, It requires a great team. And Jobs was meticulous in hiring and fostering talented individuals who shared his passion for innovation. He handpicked the people he thought were right, and he wasn't afraid to go outside the box to get people if he thought they were the right thing. He believed in the collective power of smart, creative people working together. And we've seen that play out over and over and over again in a lot of industries where they've sort of tried to use that same model and understand that when you get a lot of talented people together in one room, what they can create together is far more, it's exponentially better than what any one of them could create on their own. And the 10th one, or the last lesson, is to stay passionate. Jobs' work was driven by a deep passion for what he did. He encouraged others to find what they love to do, showing that passion is a crucial ingredient for success and satisfaction in your career. Because the fact of the matter is, if we aren't passionate about it, there isn't anything to get us up in the morning. There isn't anything to keep us driving late at night. There isn't anything to keep us obsessed with it until we create a thing that is, transcendent. And if we don't feel that passion and it's work and it's an effort and we don't enjoy it, it's very hard to work that hard at something that we don't absolutely love. So these lessons from Steve Jobs' career reflect his unique approach to leadership, product development, and business strategy. They continue to inspire entrepreneurs and leaders across the globe to innovate, pursue excellence, and challenge the status quo. And we should all do the same thing in our own businesses. So the takeaway here is that one of the most valuable things we can do if we want to achieve success or accomplish great things is to learn from the greats who came before us. Trailblazers and high achievers in every walk of life leave behind the breadcrumbs that we can follow to what they did and how they did it. We can learn from that and adapt those lessons and ideas to make them our own. And that is a surefire shortcut to success.